I'm gonna remind you guys we are in the strategy axis of the redemptive frame, and today we're talking about brand strategy. So we're going to do a few things related to that with these questions in this panel. Every single one of these people is awesome. They're so much fun. Like, I wish you could meet them in person, but I'm glad they're the people we had to do virtual with because they have the best personalities for this. So we are going to start introducing them. So first up, we have Mr. Colt Westbrook. And Colt is the president of Walrus Audio. And sorry, I'm trying to make sure I'm
1002, 1003, 1004. Oh, are we done working out? Sorry.
See what I mean, guys? See what I mean?
My bad.
So Colt is the president.
I was planning that for a long time.
He's thinking about it.
There it is. Thanks.
So Colt is the president of Walrus Audio, and he actually did worship for us at our summit last year. So you may have seen his face around. But he was also very excited for lunch today. So Colt, a special apology to you that we don't get to feed you today. So next time.
All right. You owe me.
As we've been preparing for today's session, I got the opportunity to chat with all of these mentors beforehand and just talk about what this session would look like. And when we think about people that are looking outside the box to reach their desired audience, Colt is definitely one of them. And we'll hear more about this today, but I so appreciate Colt's humility, especially in an industry where he doesn't have to be humble and because he knows what he's doing, but he still chooses to do so. So his redemptive focus right now is that his joy comes from discovering clever individuals who didn't have the opportunity for higher education and providing them with the training and support to succeed in the market and paying them competitively so they can rival the MBA folks at their competitors. So fun fact about Colt is that him and his wife love serving as the worship pastors at All Saints Community Church. So that is Mr. Colt. Okay, next up we have Traci Walton, and I'm gonna pin her real quick. There we go. There's Traci. So Traci has been with us a few times now, and if you were last month's alumni session, then you would have heard her story as well. But one of the things that I most appreciate about her is how open she is. I don't think gatekeeping is even in her vocabulary because she will freely talk about her successes, failures, current trials. It's really refreshing too because in light of the failures, the way Traci talks about them, it's just as if they were stepping stones to the next great idea. So it's really unburdening. It's a very unburdening way to view the leading of your venture. So very, very cool. Redemptive focus for Traci is investing and exploring and being an example that a business can flourish while also being responsible to the environment we take from, to be open and honest, transparent about how they operate as a business and within their team. So fun fact about Traci is she is a proud member of the Cherokee Nation. Yay, Traci. All righty, next up is Mr. Matt Stansberry. Let me pin him. Okay, yay, Matt. Okay, Matt is the founder of Nominee Design, and Nominee is actually office mates, but we don't really see each other that much with us, unfortunately. But Nominee is doing amazing things in the world of branding and building a brand around a purpose. And so Matt is really good at what he does, and he's very dedicated at it. And he is also always seeking for ways to go outside of the box and not just work with what he knows, but find other things that he can know and people that can know to teach him what he can know. And so his redemptive focus is asking the question, How do I best align all of my professional efforts, ventures, projects to make a kingdom impact and ultimately be in accordance with his will for him? And so that speaks to exactly what Matt is all about. So everything being aligned, everything being towards one goal is very important. So you'll see him working on many other things as well. So fun fact is he enjoys fly fishing. My normal fun fact about Matt is that he started a band, but I like mentioning that. But you also like fly fishing.
So I'll be honest, I don't think I've ever done that.
Really? Did I do it again? Matt, I did it last year too.
Maybe that was for somebody else. It's okay. No, it's cool.
So
I was just
funny.
like, sounds fun. I don't think I've ever been fly fishing before. But we should go sometime as a Cultivate group, maybe.
I can't believe I did that again. Literally did it at y'all's session last year too. Oh my gosh.
But it makes you look cool.
Man, I'll teach you how to fly fish if you'll teach me how to play guitar, man.
There you go. I linked Matt's one of his YouTube videos from his band in the comments, so later you can go and enjoy some grooviness from Matt Stansberry.
Yes, and I will introduce the our one-on-one mentors right after this panel as well. But we'll kick off with this panel. Matt, I won't put your face up there. There we go. And first, I want each of you just take a couple minutes and just introduce yourselves real quick, maybe something beyond the bio. Matt, we'll start with you. And then Traci, and then Colt.
Awesome. Well, first of all, really great job, everybody, earlier. That was just amazing, just getting to hear about what you guys do, what you care about, and how you're making an impact in the community. I'm just continue to be like super honored to be a part of this group and just really humbled to see what you guys are working on. It's so inspiring. Yeah, I even got teary-eyed a couple times. You just guys, just big hearts and big ideas, and it's just amazing. So just had to say that first. Excited to be here. I've been in the marketing, branding, communication space for 20 years and have really niched down into branding over the last maybe let's say 10 years of that. And so I'm excited to have this conversation and talk about brand strategy. It's what I've been doing primarily for a number of years and love it. And excited to hopefully field some exciting questions from you guys too. So, yeah.
Hi, everyone. I echo Matt. Man, I am so excited for Oklahoma City. The businesses are just awe-inspiring. I started Plenty Mercantile 12 years ago. I can't believe it. With my oldest daughter. We have a store in downtown in Automobile Alley. We're the gift shop at First National. And then we opened at the airport with our junior venture with Parodies Lagardère last year. We're a certified B Corporation. We started on a sustainable platform from the very beginning. It's in our DNA, and that's the foundation from which we work. Love retail, had absolutely no retail experience other than we considered ourselves great shoppers. Turns out it's not the same. But here we are 12 years later, and I'm excited to be in on this group. It is sometimes isolating to be a business owner, small business owner, entrepreneur, all of that. So this is great therapy for sure.
And Traci forgot to wear her creamed colored hat today. So sorry we didn't get you the memo, Traci.
Oh, shoot. I just noticed that. I was like, what? I missed that. I did not. Yeah, I didn't get the memo, guys.
Colt is Colt.
Yeah, I'm here now. Sorry. Well, I was going to make a joke saying I forgot my super cool glasses because, yeah, that's the real ticket. So, my name is on the video. Yeah, Walrus Audio is a musical instruments design and manufacturer in Oklahoma City. So specializing in mostly what's called guitar pedals and guitar pedal accessories. And yeah, you know, we're part of a larger group that's like an asset held by a private equity group. And so I manage the holding company. There's another company in Houston that's, of similar size. And then there's another contract manufacturing company that builds guitar pedals for other companies. And that it's a lot of fun most of the time. So, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. For some reason, I can't repin Colt. So if you want to pin him yourself, you can. There's a little like thumbtack if you hover over his name. There's a little thumbtack. You can click it and say pin for myself only, and then it'll show Colt along with the rest of our panelists. So that way you guys can have him there as well.
I did that on purpose.
Just a reminder as well, if you guys have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat, and we'll get to those in a second. So, Matt, I'm going to start with you. Lay a foundation for us. What is the difference between marketing strategy and brand strategy?
Yeah, I'm happy to jump in. So I'll be very transparent and say that like terminology and things I've used have over the years have evolved. So I'll just kind of say like my current view on that. So I always hold it loosely because it evolves over time. But I also love some of the things that were shown earlier, Traci, that you showed, which I'm going to hit on in a second. But just to kind of start, I think of branding as internal and marketing as external. And so using that exercise that Traci showed earlier, where you go out to 1,000 people and you say, hey, what do you want to see? That's typically, I look at that as like, that's what you do when you want to go market a product, but that's not how you build your brand. Because if you build your brand by asking everybody what you should be, you'll get something that looks like a lot of other people and it won't be as unique to you. So the pursuit of brand really is about identity. And so I love that you guys hit on that word. And so again, this is where I'm at today is brand is understanding your identity. And so a lot of that comes from things that are inside, and it takes a point of view and a perspective. And also I think asking the Lord, like, who do you say I am? What do you say about our business? Who do you think we are? And then when it gets to, and so I think that's almost even more introverted. And when you go to marketing, it's really extroverted. Like, what do I want people to know about us? And how do I connect with them in a way? And so that's when you want to start thinking about, okay, this is who we are in our identity, but now that we're going to market it, we really do need to connect and resonate. And so that's when you start thinking about like focus groups or, market research and really understanding how we're going to get this product to really resonate and that kind of thing. But from a brand perspective, I always think a brand can be evergreen too. Like you could have your brand and your core. If you do it really well, you could look up 20 years from now and sell them a whole different product, but your brand core is still the same and your values are still the same. So that's kind of where I'm at today. And I gave a long-winded answer, but if I could just tighten it up, I would just say brand is more internal and marketing is external.
Yeah, that's awesome. Matt, how can ventures be sure that they're putting the correct resources towards building their brand? What resource should be leveraged for building a brand?
Yeah, I do think there are ways you can do brand, which is cool, like super low budget, and you can do a lot of things on your own in certain cases. So that's good. The other thing is to make it even better. I always think like if you can have even like a good consultant or somebody that can help you, and then if you go even better, if you can really hire like somebody that can take it and pull out of and actually do the execution, right? So pull out the right messaging, pull out the right identity, the right visual language, the right system. I don't know if I'm really answering that, but I just think there's the great thing about branding. There's several options. Like there's the like little to no cost, and then there's like the Rolls Royce and everything in between. So I think you have to like marry up like what are the ambitions and the goals, and what's the brand equity, like the value you're trying to really build. Because there's cases for having a brand be really simple and lean and low budget, and there's a case to make for certain brands. It's like, man, you're swinging for the fences, and you really want to have this big ambitious brand in the market. Probably want to get that right to really differentiate. And I will say this, because this always really helps. Like brands that do it really well, like you can take what they do currently and move it to a new industry. So like I like to use Nike as an example. Like if Nike was going to build a boutique hotel, in your mind you already know what it'd kind of be like, right? But other brands, you may be like, well, I don't know. The same thing when Apple says we're going to do an Apple car. You kind of have a visual of in your mind because their branding is so like tight and that kind of thing. And so, again, those are brands like a really big scale that have done it really, really well. Not everybody needs to be Nike though either, right? Like sometimes your brand can be really, really simple, and so you can really overdo it as well. So I don't know. I'm kind of just basically saying there's a lot of resource, a lot of range. But I just want to hit on, I did want to hit on it just for fun, just thinking about like, how would your brand work if it was in a different industry? And I think when you can do that, you've got a really good brand.
I like that. I immediately started thinking what a Payless hotel would be like. I might like both. I don't know. Might be into it.
Colt, we'll move to you. What is a good reason to shift your brand strategy, or maybe even just a facet of it? And can you talk about how Walrus did this and why?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, our brand strategy has for sure shifted. I think in the early days of Walrus, it was intentionally like dark horse, exclusive, clubby, not like nightclubby, but like club. Like, are you in the club? Probably not. And so there was the kind of this highbrow aesthetic to the brand, which I think was good for a certain period of time of establishing ourselves as pursuing quality and not giving a rip at what anybody else thought about the direction we were driving in and the speed we were going. But then eventually, we wanted to turn our branding to look left and right and look backwards at, okay, so who all is actually following us and how can we keep them on board for decades? And so, when we did that, like the guitar community is the heroes of the guitar community. I'll say that, like the influencers are mostly like white males. But if you look at the data, there's a lot of female people of color. The guitar community is super diverse. And so Walrus is intentionally partnering with like diverse artists that are, I would call like sonic influencers. Like they're not playing guitar they're just like they're influencing through their innovation and sound, like the way that people are listening and playing guitar. And so we're intentionally kind of going after those people who are thinking outside the box, and it might not fit the typical, like, John Mayer stereotype. Love John Mayer, great guy. I say that not knowing him personally, but sounds like a great guy. But like most recently, we are like we just did a product with an artist who's a Chinese American. Her name's Yvette Young, and she's very innovative in the way she plays and the type of effects on her guitar that she uses. And so it was a really good collaboration, and it's all over our Instagram, and you can see how we did all that. But that's the position that we kind of turned. Of, okay, there's all these people that aren't being represented in the guitar community. How can we elevate those people? And what that does is it really just kind of opens up the door for everybody. I mean, like I feel pretty safe in that brand, and I feel like I'm in the club. I feel clubby and exclusive, and I feel safe and represented here. I think I want to stay for a couple decades. And so does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Cool.
That's awesome. Traci, you and Brittany have put a stake in the ground for Plenty being sustainable. Can you share one or two instances where maintaining those values was challenging, and why was it important to sustain those values over time?
Oh, let me think through all the opportunities for that. I think one is our relationship with our electric vehicles, with Moak brand. And we became a dealership for Moak. That is an old brand, but bought by somebody new. And in our relationship with them, their social media, their branding started to not align with ours. So that was I think that was one instance of who you align yourself with and who you do business with has impact on you. I think that's very definitely one. Great cars, great, but the inner workings and the customer service just didn't align with our brand. I think that's one example. And another one, I think, which always comes to mind, which still is a friction point for us, are bags. I mean, giving a bag with a purchase because we're a sustainable lifestyle store. I cannot tell you how much time and energy we have spent with, do we offer a bag? Do we not offer a bag? We have, people on both sides. I paid for that. I paid for that bag. But I think what that challenge has evolved into, we offer choices and not condemnation. So we bring to the table, you can, do you need a bag to go with that? And I mean, we've tried everything. I think that's the biggest thing to me, is that I take my own bags. I don't have issue with bringing my own bags, but I am stunned by the amount of friction that has caused in a store for a multitude of reasons. They're expensive. It's advertising. I mean, we forego walking advertising when we don't offer a bag. I think those are two instances, but I have about 100 more of times when we've said, okay, what is it that we want to represent, and how do we want to represent it, and what choices do we have to make with that? And I think with sustainability, it's not, we got to get away from it's either all or nothing. I mean, I think from the beginning set our brand as, we're not perfect. We make mistakes. And with our bags, I mean, we've said, we made a mistake. We should have ordered, bags with our names on them. But I think just being transparent about those challenges is a opportunity for education. And there's a lot of things that we've had to keep that stake in the ground intentionally, that we just didn't know. I mean, things that we didn't know as we grew as a company that would come along. But the bag situation is still, I mean, we go back and forth on that embarrassingly all the time, because we get a lot of feedback on our bag situation. Did that answer?
Yeah, that's so interesting too. I wonder if you guys could, and anybody can take this question, but if you guys could talk about a little bit more, Matt, what you were saying of other people saying what your brand is, because you guys all have clients, so you all receive feedback in some sort. So how do you guys decide, oh, this is feedback we should take, or this is feedback that doesn't align with us and we need to maybe do something about it and make sure that people know that this isn't us? So any of you guys can take that, but
I think you have to take into considerations people. I mean, it would be naive not to consider people's feedback. But to the extent that it drives your brand is entirely different, because I always go back to, when you do receive feedback, a lot of people don't know your industry, don't know the whole picture. They're coming from a very specific idea, and they may not have all the information.
I first of all, can we backtrack? Traci, what'd you say earlier? You said we offer solutions, not condemnation, or what was that?
Choices. You had
Choices.
Yes, this is a choice, but it's not it's not condemnate. Oh, you want a bag or.
Yeah, I like that. That's good. I'm gonna get that tattooed
Well,
somewhere. I don't have a tattoo yet, but I might. Natanya, I kind of use two things. Like I'd like to use like the wedding analogy. You know, I'm married, but like if I got married again, you know, I look at the person who's giving feedback, and I say, would this person be invited to my wedding? And if the answer is yes, then I'll say like maybe I should listen to what they're saying. Or would this person be in my wedding party? It's like, man, I should really, if that's somebody I really respect and I really respect their opinion, I should definitely integrate their feedback, at least for discussion on like a leadership team level. But, you know, would this person be invited to my wedding? And it's like, yeah, I'll listen to what they have to say. And, you know, maybe it's a big wedding and, you know, I got a lot of weird uncles and, you know, but, you know, I'll hear you out. You know, and if it's kind of like this person for sure wouldn't be invited to my wedding, I might just ignore what they have to say. I think, ironically, the people that have the most feedback are people who aren't doing hard things. The people that have the most feedback have never built anything and have never risked their backs on making something great. And so I receive very deeply feedback who have also risked a lot and done something really difficult, no matter what industry or how old they are or what they look like. If they've done something really hard and built something, then it's like, talk to me. But if like the keyboard warriors and the armchair experts, I enjoy not listening sometimes. Is that okay to say?
It's great.
All right, cool. Because they're not my customer. You know, it's like, are you my customer? Then I want to hear what you have to say. But if you're not my customer, if you're just my critic, then I don't really need to hear what you have to say. But you're entitled to your opinion. But I'm entitled to not listen. So
That's great.
Is that helpful or is that rude?
I loved it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Great.
So, and you hit on something. I loved your like wedding analogy because I feel like it goes back to that idea of like, they know you, right? Like, somebody at your wedding's also going to know you, know what you're about. And I think that's important. Anyway, I was going to say, I don't know if this kind of ties in with this, but I think it kind of does. We use this phrase a lot internally. We don't say it a ton to clients because it's kind of boring, but we say responsible branding is something that we harp on a lot. And I'll use an example of what that. And yeah, I'll use an example. So we were working with the Osage Nation on a campaign. This is before the film got released, and this was going to be an internal kind of brand positioning to their tribal members. And so we got this project. We're super excited about it. They hired us because of other experience working on like social good campaigns and things like that. And so, but it's like, to be honest, we're also pretty nervous, because we're like, we're not tribal. We haven't worked on this before. So during this process, when we really started using that for the first time, is like that we need to be really responsible with how we go about this branding. Like, it's probably not going to be very cool if like we just start introducing new ideas and new elements that weren't there to begin with, right? Like, you're talking about this history and honoring the past. And so what our approach ended up being was, and it goes back to this identity piece. It's like, you know who you are, the elements that you have. Our job isn't to create anything new, but to piece it together maybe in a new way. So we went and found symbols that they hadn't used in years, but they said, this really represents what we're wanting to say. Or we said with the font system, we didn't introduce a new font system. We took from like what they use for their seal. And we just started piecing things together. And every word that was used on the messaging of it was like direct quotes that were pulled out of videos or one-to-one interviews that we had. So that when we actually piece it all together and show it back, they're like, obviously it's them, it's all their stuff. We just packaged it in a way that was like, that they hadn't seen before. So it was like, yes, this is what we want to say. This is what we believe. But, and I use it to say is like, I think that's an extreme example in some ways, but it's also like, that's what I think good branding really is. And it goes back to like the marriage feast, right? Or, kind of using that almost as like a biblical example, but It's like, who's at your wedding? Who knows you? It's like, those are the people that can speak life in and around and see a spot that, but it comes back to like, it has to be authentic and real. And just somebody that doesn't know you or know your brand, yeah, there's a pretty good chance that they're going to be pretty far off, and no bad intent. They just may not know the nuances of who you are. And again, I'll switch very dramatically when we want to talk about like product placement and marketing. But when we're just, again, I'm just putting my kind of staying in this brand lane. You just have to really know and trust the people that are giving you feedback, to kind of reiterate what Colt said. But anyway, hopefully that example was helpful on some level.
That's great. Yeah. Thank you guys for elaborating on that. Just so everybody knows what's coming, I'm going to ask probably one more question and then have you guys do a Q&A. So put some questions in the chat and I'll call on you to ask it. Traci, we have a lot of spouses and we have brother, sister leading ventures. Can you talk a little bit about working with family? What are some of the boundaries that you guys have in place?
That is always a great that's always a great question. We do have boundaries. We've been working together for 12 years now. So we've certainly grown. And I think it's important that I say, I'm 10 years ago, I had kids at home and Brittany was single and her life was different. And now she has kids at home and I'm an empty nester. So as we have grown and aged, our relationship and how we communicate with each other has as well. I think one thing with us is that, probably eight years ago, because when we first started, we were, excuse me, both, new business owners. This was Brittany's first job out of college. So learning the business side of it while navigating home and, relationship, I think we're so new in the beginning. But what we've evolved to now is that we talk about it and we keep it in the forefront, is that we believe that each other has best intent in mind when we communicate. And that oftentimes if something's off or there's strife, then there's some sort of miscommunication somewhere. And being able to state that and say, hey, this isn't, I don't know why this escalated. This is what my intent was. How are you feeling about that? I think having the ability to say, something's off here, we're not communicating right, has helped us tremendously. And just assuming best intent. I mean, and that allows you to say, oh, I don't think this is definitely not how she meant that to land. Or, and sometimes I have to say, hey, hang on, I got to take my professional hat on. I'm going to turn it around because this is your mom talking now. Works too, because and she'll also, if I'm getting revved up about something, she'll go boop and she'll boop me on the nose, which makes me crazy, but I used to do that when they were a kid. But it allows us to reset and keep perspective, because it is an emotional. I mean, you have emotions tied to family, and some people always ask us about work-life balance, and I always laugh because I think we have a healthy work life and we have a healthy home life, but we do not have balance. I mean, there's always a sacrifice somewhere. The great thing about working with family is that you know them, you trust them. You have that piece of knowing that things are taken care of. But it's not easy. It's not easy navigating the mother-daughter aspect of it. My husband says all the time, I don't think we could ever work together. I'm like, take that as a compliment. I don't know what he means by that. But working with Brittany, it's been fun to watch her grow as a professional, in her professionalism. So I get to do that. So I love that part of it, but it's not always not always easy.
Yeah. Thank you, Traci. That's such a good point. It's the good and the bad of working with anybody. So it's hard.
Exactly.
Yeah. I like what you said about the hat switching. It's so great. And I have had to use that. I don't work with any of my family here, but I have had to say, like, can I put my friend hat on for just a second
Oh yeah.
and just do a little like soul reconfiguring, And
I think it allows for a reframing too. I mean,
yeah,
where that's
so smart.
coming from.
That's good. I like that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, so if anybody has any questions, you want to raise your hand, you can, and I'll call on you. Okay, Elizabeth, we have a question. How do you identify which parts of your brand are essential to your venture's identity and which places are open to feedback? If there's like one part that you're convicted about, this is so like Traci in your example, if somebody was like, you shouldn't be sustainable, you'd probably be like, no, that's our whole thing. So if there's something that's like, this is our thing, that you've put a stake in the ground.
I think for us, our niche is best gear, best way. And we're going to make the best gear in the best way possible. And so anything that like comes against that won't be integrated into our process. But I think not ironically, but interestingly, the things that most people have feedback on are matters of taste and not core processes. And so I'm always open if somebody has like a differing opinion about like how the branding is carried out or the like a taste decision. And so that's always open for feedback and at times ridicule. But nothing, for us, nothing comes against best gear, best way, because maybe we're not going to do like okay gear, corner cut way, or best gear, a corner cut way, or so. That's it for us.
Hey, Colt, how did you come up with that?
That's awesome, Colt. Thank you. Matt, do you have anything?
What's up, Matt Stansberry? What do you say?
Sorry, I may have a bad connection. Do I have a bad connection? How did you come up with that, Colt?
Yeah, a little bit, but it's okay.
I think it's our fifth iteration of our brand strategy, like internally. I think it used to be like designing innovative gear for innovative artists all around the globe. And then it was like, well, it doesn't have to be like an innovative artist, so we can just designing innovative gear for artists around the globe. And it was like, but are we really considering the whole globe when we design something? It's like, well, no, we're thinking about Europe a lot and Japan. We're not thinking about, Australia. So then it just kept getting smaller and smaller as the years went on, and we just kind of landed on best gear, best way, which I think is kind of a rip from Southwest Airlines, and I can't remember what theirs is, but we kind of borrowed from Southwest Airlines and took did best gear, best way.
That's awesome. That's great.
It's all right to steal. Just not at Plenty Mercantile.
Okay. We have a question from Kendall.
Hello. I'm from the Comeback Kids Society. I don't know if you saw my little spiel, but I find ourselves asking the question of like, who is our audience, and then how do we do brand strategy? Because we're working with teenagers, we're in facilities, and we also take grants. And so I'm like, is our social media strategy smart? Because I mean, really, I don't even really know, like, really who are we targeting? Because we're working with kids that are in facilities or in foster homes. And so I think that that's a big question to ask all three of you. It's what would your advice be?
My knee jerk is to consider like, well, I probably have more questions than
Sure.
like solutions to think about, but it sounds like you already have pathways to connect with the kids that you're serving. Like, and that's not the concern. Earlier on, you showed the chart where you guys continue to need funding and you're growing in that way. So when I would think about your brand, I would think about your brand being geared towards the people that can help you make that happen, which is probably more like donors or people that are going to approve your grants. Like, and I think you can do that and serve in this, like you can serve this way over here and communicate to, but I don't think you're trying to build your brand to like recruit kids into your
Right.
system. Right. So like, that's where my mind keeps going is like, how do you build a brand that becomes this like fueling engine for people wanting to donate, give, and buy in that way? And I think sometimes I see a mistake sometimes is people will gear it towards just the audience they're serving, but they're like, we have an endless supply of that. We need, whatever the thing is. But I would say gear your brand towards the biggest need, which it sounds like probably forever will be something around funding.
Yes. Yep.
That's where my mind goes. Is like, if you can build a powerful brand that wants people to like donate and find a way to get engaged, and you find who that audience is, that sounds like a home run to me just on the surface. But I could be off on that. But just based on the pitch and kind of what I heard earlier, reading between the lines, it sounds like a brand geared towards donors makes a ton of sense.
I think that's exactly right. And simultaneously you're building awareness too. So I agree with Matt.
That's
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Kendall.